Toastmasters, and honored guests. Many of you don't know about this yet, but as Tom mentioned, I was recently on the national show, The Doctors. Has anyone here had a chance to watch the 5-minute segment yet? Okay, thank you. And I can share it with others if you have any interest after the show today. Most importantly, I wanted to say that there's a reason why they asked me to be on the show, and it wasn't apparent from watching the video. Marin has a smoke-free coalition, which I volunteer for actually, and the smoke-free coalition put together a group of people who advocated for secondhand smoke protection. San Rafael ended up passing one of the most strict and most stringent rules about secondhand smoke in multi-unit apartments, where you wouldn't even be able to smoke a cigarette in your apartment or condo at all, starting next year. And this was national news. It got picked up by the Huffington Post, and then later it got sent out, across the AP. So this was everywhere. And they're thinking, San Rafael, that seems a little extreme. So I went on the show because I had lost my husband in 2005 to smoking-related cancer. I also had worked in secondhand smoke prevention for a couple of different agencies in Santa Rosa and San Rafael. And now, as mentioned, I volunteer for the Smoke Free Coalition. So here I was, hunkered down in New York City with the superstorm all around me. And I was stuck there because I had thought it was a good time of year to go visit New York for vacation. Instead, I ended up with my in-laws for an extra week, sleeping on a hide-a-bed, one of the most uncomfortable hide-a-beds you've ever met, with a husband who snores so badly that I had to go foot to head and head to foot. Anyway, I got the call, and because of Toastmasters, I was able to say yes. I'll be on the show. When they said 2 million people would be watching me, I was like, oh, maybe I should reconsider. Because even if I just did one little embarrassing thing, I'd have to live with it. My poor mom, who lives in a senior apartment and is plagued by smoke from her neighbor, would watch me screwing it up on national TV. So anyway, I tried really hard to prepare myself for this exciting adventure, especially when they said, it's all expenses paid. We'll bring you down to LA, to Hollywood, and then we'll take care of your hair and makeup. I got really excited, because just for the fun of that. So I went and I studied and I looked online. I did a lot of research. I talked to the Smoke-Free Marin people, mostly about their website, so that I could push people to smokefreemarin.com. Well, when I got down to LA, as it turns out, they had us set up in Lowe's Hotel, which is a nice hotel with a nice view actually, overlooking Hollywood. But the next morning, when I was getting more and more excited, I needed my breakfast. I don't even function without breakfast. So they brought the breakfast 10 minutes before the van came, and it was a $50 breakfast, so paid for, so I'm all excited. And it turned out to be raw French toast. I was like, I'm trying to eat this. Like, what is that disease you get from eggs again? So I push it to the side, I poured my coffee into a to-go cup, and I jumped into the van, where I sat in the front seat next to the driver because I'd met him the night before. Little did I know that the other guy that came into the van would think that I worked for the van company. And yet, he was my opposing person for the show. So this guy named Tom, bearded gentleman, starts ranting and raving about how they're going to put horns on him because he's a smoker and he's going to be talking about smoking, why it's his right to smoke in his condo. Damn it, it's his castle. And I was just like, okay, So Tom, where do you live? And then finally, at some point, I let him know that I was the person that was going to be debating him on the show. So we get there, and you know how it is. You have like a green room, and it's never green. They give you some water. They tell you all this stuff. They were telling Tom, for example, that he could interrupt me at any time. They were telling me to at least say what I needed to say, and don't be shy. Don't hold up your hand, which is the kind of thing I do when I want to be heard. So we got there, we got into the auditorium where all the people were, and they actually sat us in the front seat right next to each other. So I'm like, okay, I'm next to Tom. I can feel the hate vibrations. And I'm trying to send the love back because I didn't hate Tom as a smoker. I didn't hate Tom for having an opinion. I just wanted to be debating him on this particular topic. So they started rolling with this, and the doctors don't tell you what they're going to ask. They don't give you anything to prepare with. So the first thing that they did was the cute doctor, we'll call him, Dr. Travis, he started talking about secondhand smoke, and they did a little video that had showed nationally about San Rafael's smoking ban and why it was considered extreme, but why some people thought that this is the way that other cities should go. And then the next thing that happened was they turned to me and said, well, what's your theory on that, Anita? It's like, my theory? Well, and that's when I was like, my umming and welling was happening. So basically, I just launched into a little bit of what I believe about a person's right to clean air, or children and babies, and how they shouldn't be subjected to secondhand smoke. And then Tom got in there, jumped in, and started talking about how secondhand smoke was not that bad, the studies are bogus, and in fact, it might even be good for you. Right about then, he lost the audience. And I talked more, but most of that ended up edited on the room of the, when they do the editing afterwards. Because honestly, with Dr. Travis, who is pretty gorgeous, and really into this topic, to the point where he was showing the before and after lung, and then you have Thomas over here being a nut. Even my smoking friends said, he's a whack job. And then I'm over here being reasonable, but that isn't necessarily playing well on national television. So I ended up with just a few minutes to talk about what I had to talk about. But from acting, I also knew that the nonverbals count. And because they had said, you'll also be on camera, I was able to go, like. And I think that sometimes gestures and nonverbals speak louder than words. So I came out of it afterwards feeling pretty doggone good that the message had been gotten out there to many people who watch daytime TV, many of whom might be smokers, and that I could feel good that I hadn't been mean to Thomas, but I was able to hold my own and able to, thanks to Toastmasters, be confident enough to grab an opportunity when it came along.